Hey guys, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whichever applies to you. Welcome back. If you're new here, my name is Julia. I'm a contemporary singing specialist based in Australia. And today, for the second time, I am reacting to BAND-MAID, and I could not be more keen because their first song that I reacted to, which was Freedom, that kept me going in like a happy mood for days. That song made me so happy and so excited that I am ridiculously keen to be reacting to their song Wonderland for you today. So we are just gonna dive right on in.
偶発的な言葉じゃないとちゃんと証明してほしいの短絡的じゃ好みじゃないの触れてみせてよ Let me breathe you, breathe you, breathe you Insta って大事なもんだってすり減って詰まって泣けなくてこうやってこべた声も夢と消えるのでしょう分かってる分かってない分かってる分かってない繰り返すれ違ってまたゼロに戻るそれでもどうにかしたくて歩んだ二人の奇跡をたどって不発的な言葉じゃないとちゃんと証明してほしいの短絡的じゃ好みじゃないの触れてみせてよ Let me breathe you, breathe you, breathe you くすぐる思いも悪くない
Okay, cool. So already I'm getting to see a little bit more variety in Saki's vocals, and I wonder if there was something put on Miku's vocals as well underneath in the beginning, because it sounded very, very low and like there was some distortion put on it. Either that or she's managed to work with her vocal fry to the point where it sounds like something's been put on there. But yeah, it's already from the get-go, I'm getting to hear two different registrations from Saki. I'm getting to hear two different kinds of vocals from her. So you got your first register, which already is being sung with a bit more freedom than what I heard in the song Freedom. Wow. Okay, so it's already sounding a little bit lighter, so her setup, the mechanism that she's using isn't as pressed, but this song energy-wise is also not as like 120 k's an hour down the road. That probably made no sense to people who don't use kilometers, but in the energy in Freedom is like really, really high, and it just keeps going and going and going and going from the very beginning of Freedom, whereas this one, it's a little bit more pulled back. So maybe psychologically it means she's not pushing as hard. This could also maybe be earlier in the concert, so you know, she's not as tired, she's not having to work for it as much. But her vocal mechanism, the setup is fairly light, and I can hear a bit more freedom through her first register choices in this one already. But you've got her going up into the second register as well. That can be really exhausting as well, because she's using an aspirated soft tone, but it can't be so wispy that you can't hear it. So her placement has to be really careful with that, because you could just put it in the back of your throat and it sound like nothing. You could be like that, but if you put it slightly more forward, like what she's doing with a lot of her other consonants, and it could just be because, you know, Japanese, the setup can be a little bit more nasalized, but by putting it more forward, you get a little bit more strength to the sound. So, da 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 da, as opposed to da 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 da. Just by having that placement sitting really far forward, you get a little bit more tonal fullness to the sound, but she's using a second register. It's not a mix. It's not like what you would find in musical theater or other pop styles where they might mix that a little more. That aspirated quality, the breathiness is in there, but not so much that the sound is completely disappearing. So already I'm seeing more from Saiki as a vocalist, so that's really cool. We're gonna keep going because I want to see what else she does.
しくてどうすればいいなんて思うなんてありえなかったの必然的な出会いじゃなくても他じゃ
You can hear a lot of a nasalized placement in that one, but she's mixing a little bit more on that high note there. Instead of it being like a full out belt, it's got the brightness there, but none of the tension here. Another thing, her ability to go from that higher mix place into the second register with the good placement, and then being able to drop all the way back down to like that modal register, the first register, really low in the speech sort of range. She's doing it well. I can understand why she might get progressively more tired throughout a concert though, and I did read the comments that said she had vocal surgery to remove, I don't know what they said, was it cysts, was it polyps, was it something else, did she hemorrhage? I didn't read into it, and I probably could if you wanted me to, just to see if anyone actually knows what truly happened, and I could maybe talk to vocal injuries and recoveries and rehabilitation if you want. But we're going to go back because I want you to hear the transition of the higher mix into the second register, and then how she moves all the way back down into that speechy place. Way back down in the modal. Oh, I want to go back for that. Yes. Okay, I wanted to go back for it because the build in the music, it was like it's like the swell of a wave, and then suddenly it hits and you're like, boom. You know what I mean? I know that's so articulate. Because there's that swell in the music and they've played with the time and where you feel like the beat is going to land, when that vocal line comes in with all the other instruments as well, when they finally hit that, it's really satisfying because it's like you've been built up with this swell, and then the swell has a little bit more energy to it, a little bit more of that dynamic momentum behind it as well. So a few things that I wanted to just touch on vocally. Saiki her voice is a lot freer in this one. There are times though where I can hear that like drive from her throat in some of the vowel work. Even the belt that she did was a little bit more tension in that sound, but not as much as what I was hearing in Freedom. So I can hear her modifying her vocal choices in this one a hell of a lot more than what I heard in Freedom, because there's a bit more space in this one in order to do that. So I'm hearing multiple different setups from Saiki in her first register, one that's a little bit more mixed, one that is right down in that spoken modal register, and then one where it's a lot lighter. And then of course in her second register, that placement is in a really good place so that she's not having to strain for the high note so that it can still be heard. So that it still has that tonal clarity to it so you understand what the words are. And I don't speak Japanese, but you can hear her words clearly as far as the phonetics go. So musically, one of the things that I wanted to quickly touch on, if we go through, I'm just going to click at random parts of the music and see if what I suspect actually happened, because I haven't seen this before, so I just want to double check. Yep. Okay, so again, I just want to make a note on their songwriting and arranging. I think the reason why this song gives me so much like musical momentum, even though of course it's in your classic format where you have the same lot of chords and you repeat it for choruses, the instrumentation behind it are filling and subtracting in different places, and that makes it musically more exciting. The bass and the kit are not doing the same things within each of the sections of the song. There's always something new about it. I'll just take you through that little like walk that I did through the music that time, because what I was listening for was what the kit was doing, because I had this feeling as I was listening to it, I was like, dang, why are these drums just giving me life? So I wanted to go back and double check, and there's something different about how she's using the kit within each section. Sometimes it's not an overt difference, but a lot of the times, because the music has like sort of changed its sort of layer, I guess you could say, the layering within the music changes. Sometimes the feel is changing. I particularly liked how they left the first chorus. I thought that was a brilliant, brilliant entry into the second verse. If we just want to hear that. This feel change here. Yes. Wonderful, just beautiful, so satisfying when you hit that second verse because of how they broke that down and they used a different rhythm, a different sort of beat of which was driving the feeling of the music, and then it landed into that second verse and you're like, heck yeah, I'm here. Like, I'm with you. You took me with you. I guess what I'm getting at is musically, it's so dynamic, it's so alive. And I know dynamic is a music term where you have like it gets louder and softer, and yes, they do that in this arrangement as well. But the way that they've written it, it's like it keeps growing. It's like the song is alive. That makes it a hell of a lot more interesting than the same thing, the exact same way done 6 times in the song because you wanted to make more money off a chorus. You know what I'm saying? Which of course is not what they're doing there, but I'm trying not to be shady. Anyways, vocally, loved it. There was a harmony towards the end from Miku that I just adore. Just quickly though, that change there, it felt like she was going up for a belt and then suddenly it wasn't. It was like you're being denied in a way that you know is going to be better later. Let's hear that again. Anyway, let me find that harmony for you. That was just, I loved that. That one there. I know they're simple things, but gee whiz. I want to hear it again. Again! Yes, and they're so clean too. They're harmonizing really, really well together. Another little thing that I just noticed that I really enjoyed was the what the guitar was doing with that. That's not exactly what it was, but you know what I'm saying. You'll when you hear it, you'll know. Again, their musical layering is fantastic. I would love to go to a concert with these guys because their music is fun, it's interesting, and the variety that Psyche demonstrated in this one was awesome. I genuinely enjoyed her vocal choices, and I thought when she went up for those higher notes in sort of that second register, that's second mechanism, if you will, that setup there, I thought she did that pretty well because it's very easy to sing that with a breathy tone and to have no substance to the quality of the sound, and yet you can still hear her clearly. And because it is a little bit softer, the music is matching that. It's not making it seem out of place. It grows together. It's alive together. That's fantastic. I love that. So overall, I liked the fact that she was singing with less constriction than in the other song. But again, the other song, the energy was hype in that song. So, you know, as the vocalist, you got to meet that demand. And stylistically, she's doing everything right. So again, from the other video, your vocal health management and your style, you got to manage that as part of being a professional. So all I can do is just like let you guys know, look, this sound does this, and that's up to them to manage, and that's it. In this performance, she used a lot more forward placement. The vowels were nowhere near as constricted as the previous one. I love that she was able to use a second register, and that a lot of like the hype belting wasn't as frequent as it was in the other song. As fun as that is, I'm glad that I could hear another example of her singing and know that their songs, while they still have great energy, do have that variety in the vocal usage for their lead singer. So that's awesome. Also, another little quick fun thing to note is because there's a lot of and like harsher plosives like t and k in Japanese, a lot of the placement can start to sound quite nasalized, and to release from that means that your soft palate has to be able to adapt. So for example, when you're producing those nasalized sounds, the velum is relaxed, allowing the sound to basically propagate up through the nose. So you get that quality, and it can sound a little bit dull. So in order to avoid that as a vocalist, you have to make sure that your vowel isn't purely coming through the nose. It needs to be able to sort of come through the mouth. For example, if I was to demonstrate that velum, that soft palate moving, when you produce the N sound, the soft palate is down or relaxed, and when you are producing a non-nasalized sound, which is what you would have to do as a singer to make sure you don't come across as overly nasally, that velum has to raise and sort of block off the airway of it going up into your nose. So for example, if I was to go so for example, that's that action happening. So for a singer, it's happening very, very quickly, and her vowel work wasn't overly nasalized, so she's doing that fairly well. That was just a quick little added note there that I wanted to mention, is she's got that velum working for her, considering that the language that she's singing in does definitely align more towards those nasalized consonants, which could become a potential issue. And so now you know, if you hear a singer who sounds overly nasally, you know that it's just their soft palate isn't doing its job as far as making sure that that sort of nasopharynx area, which is the resonating cavity that goes up past the oral cavity. So you got your laryngopharynx, your oropharynx, and your nasopharynx. When that soft palate is raised and blocking off the nasopharynx, that's when the vowel comes out through the mouth. So now you know. Now you know. Let me know if there's a singer that you are aware of that is overly nasalized, and that could be fun. But regardless, loved the music choices, loved being able to hear a little bit more of the vocal decision making from Psyche. I love their music, like the actual crafting of the songs themselves. That was very enjoyable, and I would totally go to one of their concerts. Anyways, guys, that is it from me today. I hope that you enjoyed that. If you did, be sure to give this video a like, click the subscribe button and the notification bell beside it if you want more just like this one. As usual, I hope you're staying safe. I hope you're staying healthy, and I will see you next time. Bye!